Hey, what's up, card fighters? Back here with another match video. This time it is BAVSARGRA versus Youth. We did have a secondary. You guys saw my fat ass fingers on the screen, but we did have another Chrono Jet match. But the way I beat the Chrono Jet decks was essentially just checking the over trigger and then basically like out tempoing them from there on card advantage. So I didn't think you guys would like to see another one of that, or I don't know, maybe you guys are like, yeah, Chrono Jet losing, give me more of that. But I did want to show BAVSARGRA versus another meta deck. So we're up against Youth, which this match is actually like hilarity as well. I don't see what we put back there. It actually looked like we kept our hand. But we're going to draw for turn, so we're going first here. We see the over trigger in our hand. We're going to pitch the grade 1 for Ride, and we're going to grab the shield here. And, you know, none else to do, so we pass turn. He's going to pitch Tempest here. I was joking saying that my shield was an Ash Blossom, you know, Ash Pass. But he go ahead and just vanilla swings, checks another Tempest here. Pitch the shield, get it back off our ride line. Debating if I wanted to call any cards, but I didn't really have any plays, so I just swing with the Vanguard. We check a heal, so we do get to recover one. Pitches a critical trigger here. He's going to look at top 3 from the ride line. Calls out the Cadbray here. So he's going to get to look at top 3 again and call out a card. Which he attempts to not call a card, but I informed him that for Cadbray, like, he never misses. You must call a card even if you don't want to call a card. So he ends up calling a PG here, because I guess the other 2 were triggers. But, you know, hey man, like, a free 16k column is like, you know, a free 16k column, you know. You know, if it's free, it's free. I ain't gonna snap at it. Swings for 10 here. I decided to guard. Yeah, he was just like making fun, like, oh, over trigger. But, you know, he didn't. We take the 1 damage. It is a Meteor Flare Dragon. Debating on how I want to do my turn here. We pitch a Moon for Ride. We're going to Counterblast 1 for the shield here, and we RNG'd our way into the spear. So what we did here is we called out the grade 1. The grade 1 that lets us arm from the drop zone. And then I called out the grade 1 Blaze Maiden, soul blasting the spear to dump another moon. And now that we have the spear in the drop zone, we're able to arm again off the grade 1 by simply retiring it. So, you know, we RNG'd our way out of that pickle of not having a secondary arms card. Because, you know, I wasn't going to be able to do anything on that turn. I most likely was just going to swing at the rear guard and then pass. I was just like reading my cards to make sure, like, can I actually do this? Can I actually, like, did I actually RNG my way into the play? So we're gonna draw one here off the spear. We are gonna Soul Blast 2 to get rid of his front row and give us a crit. And I decided to swing here unboosted by anything. I believe I had another guy in hand, another moon in hand, but I chose not to call it. Just because I wanted to see if I could bait him into guarding this attack. Which I didn't. He just simply took it, and then obviously the other column doesn't hit. He's debating on what he wants to pitch here for Ride. Pitches a heal trigger. Rides into Skyfall Arms. Chooses not to use the grade 2 of the Ride Line's ability here. He's gonna pitch a Gust here. Look at the top 3. I'm guessing they looked like they were triggers, so he put them to the bottom. And then he's gonna use a Cadbray here. Debating on what he wants to grab. Calls out a Schneisel here. He does have to shuffle for Cabaret, so he's shuffling up right now. Decides not to use Schneisel's ability because obviously he wants to have that open counterblast for Tempest. He's gonna swing 23 here. Checks a front, which is really good for him. We check another Meteor Dragon, and I was like telling him like, yo, bro, like, why you hit my Meteor Dragons like that? Activates Tempest. He gets 2 grade 0s, which we don't have a grade 0 on board at the time. He's going to swing 20, giving another 5k to Tempest. Which I was debating how I wanted to guard. But I believe we ultimately just used the shield here, if I'm not mistaken. Or no, I think I was trying to save the shield for his other column. Oh no, that was 20. That was 25. That was 25. Okay, okay. Now, yeah, because the 5k from Tempest in the front. So, and then he heals, and then because he healed, I get to heal. So my Vanguard's now at 23. I believe this is 26, 31, 41. So I need a 20k shield here to block this. Which we do end up just taking it. Damage and arms card. Go ahead, we Persona right here. See, we have an arms card in our hand. I can't see which one, though. I think it's the spear. Debating on how I want to proceed with the turn, apparently. Go ahead and call up our Meteor Dragon here. Get rid of that back row unit. Oh, okay. I was seeing how I could clear his entire board here. Counterblast 1, and we're going to arm the spear here to draw a card. Soul Charge, when we Soul Charge a crit here, feels bad, but, you know, it happens. Call out the moon here to countercharge 1. And I believe I had the sword in hand. That's what I was, like, pandering over for so long. But I do decide to just clear his board, which does let us get the 10k off the Meteor Dragon, so he's a 30k hitter here, which is very clutch. Damages a Decisive Axe Dragon here. You know, I put everybody on that card. I'm not even gonna lie to y'all. Oh no, we didn't have the sword in hand. So we're gonna give the crit and power to Meteor Flare here, and it's just 40k, so it just requires 2 15s, which he guards for 20 and a 15, and that ends our turn. Persona Rides. Pitches a front here, and I'm guessing they were all triggers once again, and he was remarking to me that they were all triggers and proceeds to show me that they were all triggers. So he just swings for 23 here, which I believe I perfect guarded here to play it safe. Yeah, I perfect guarded here to play it safe. Even though he did put 3 triggers on the bottom of his deck. You know, like, he did put 3 triggers on the bottom of his deck, but those are 3 triggers that are not the over trigger, you know what I mean? We pitched the gun, and then he just passes. He didn't have a revolt for him. Or I guess he didn't see the... I think that's a Tempest? No, that's a Gust in his hand. But he just chose not to... I think he remarked that it wasn't worth it. And he just chose to pass turn here. We're going to swing for 48 here. We do have the 10k on the Meteor Dragon, since he doesn't have a... You know, he doesn't have anything. I'm going to swing 34 here. We couldn't establish another column, unfortunately. But we are able to get guard out of his hand, and then we swing for 10. Shows the camera, it's a crit. He Persona Rides again. Draws into a Tempest here. He's gonna pitch the crit for the top 3. Gets a Schneisel, and he was remarking, finally, something good. Gonna go to top 5 for Schneisel. He's gonna grab the Tempest here. Shuffle his deck. Calls out the Tempest here. Calls out the Sequana. Very aggressively swings for 33 at my Vanguard. And I basically over-triggered a pass here. Doesn't get the over-trigger. Rides into Gust. Sequana's first and then activates Gust skill. It's going to put it in front of the Tempest on the rear guard. It's going to swing for 25 first, powering up the Gust Vanguard. We guard, and then he swings for 33. We perfect guard here, because we do know his deck is low, and we know he has like at least 3 criticals left in deck. Deciding what we want to pitch off the perfect guard, we decide to pitch the sword. Just couldn't afford to keep it, but he gets nothing. Decides to swing at our Vanguard for 33, I believe. So we guard 15 and activate our shield. Stand and draw here. We top deck to Persona Ride, so we are able to Soul Blast 2 to get rid of his front row. Unfortunately, our Meteor Dragon isn't a big boy because he does have a rear guard in the back row. We're going to call the grade 1 that lets us arm again. And we're going to go ahead and arm the gun here. We were trying to go for a push turn here. That's the only reason why we armed the gun. Soul Charge a crit, which is unfortunate. And I forgot to call something. Decided to call out another Trick Moon. We're going to call a Shuna here, the Blue Dragon, but we don't use its skill to call something because obviously we wanted to Counterblast 2 for that extra draft check, which doesn't, I don't think once today that this draft check actually helped me besides like converting the gun into another card. Oh no, it does. We get a trigger here. The heal doesn't go off, but we get a trigger here. So we do give the power to the Meteor Dragon, so I guess I was wrong. We did check a trigger once off of the gun. He gets the OT out defensively here, so we do end the turn. Pitches the Maple here for the top 3, gets one of the grade 1s. I mean, all the grade 1s are 10k boosters, but that's not the one that gives him draft checks. He's going to look at his entire deck for a Revolve Orb, and then he's going to shuffle his deck. Which, yes, his deck is 5 cards, and I believe those 5 cards are 3 critical triggers, 1 heal trigger, and 1 normal unit. Because we were discussing about it after the game, because that game was just like actual hilarity. Debating how I want to guard his Vanguard here. I go for a 2 to pass. First check, the 1 normal unit, and the second check is a heal trigger. So his last 3 cards in his deck are 3 critical triggers. Revolve forms into Gust, gets the drive check for Gust, pitches, and he just swings for 23. Which I think I know past this. Yeah, I know past this, because I didn't have a perfect guard in hand. I burned them all in the early game. Yeah, so I guard for 48, which is no pass, but you know, it's still double trigger, so he's gonna get double trigger no matter what. So he gives it all to the Schnitzel, and I can't guard it. So I take the first attack, take the second attack. Because he's at 4 damage, because he hit that one heal trigger, it actually loses him the game because he has only 1 card left in deck. I can obviously guard a secondary attack, so he just scoops it up and we go to game 2 here. He just freaking casino shuffles his deck, which I'm guilty of doing that to my cards too. But you know, my cards are double sleeved, guys. Like, you know, I know people cringe when I just do the casino shuffle on my cards. Like literally, I do it myself right here, right now. But you know, I usually do that to bend back my cards if I feel like they're curling a certain way, or you know, it's just it's a way I like to shuffle, man. Don't dog me too much. My cards are protected. My cards are safe. I promise. I'm just like trying to like really shuffle my deck here, I guess. Homie, you shuffled enough cards for 10 duels. Put 3 back. So he's going to go first here, of course. Pitches the Tempest for Ride. Then we're going to go into my turn. Pitch the Moon here. And I basically just started flipping cards till I saw the shield. Wow, I'm just like the shuffle master in this second game, bro. Why are you shuffling so much, my G? Draw for going second. So go ahead and establish a grade 1 here for a little bit of a rush. Doesn't get a trigger. Doesn't get a trigger, so it's his turn now. Pitches a Sequana here. I was again saying that my shield was an Ash Blossom. Calls out one of the grade 1 angels here. Calls out Nucleate Angel. I know a Solemn Vanguard was putting a lot of people on that card. I personally don't like it. I don't think it's good enough. I feel like if you're getting damage denied, you should probably be winning anyways. That's my personal opinion on it. And he swings for the perfect number of 18, which we take it. We damage a spear, unfortunately. Go ahead and pitch the shield for Ride. Add it back to hand. We're going to go ahead and call out Meteor Dragon here, snipe the back row. I'm going to use our grade 1 to swing into his grade 1, cleaning up his field. Swing for 10, get a heal trigger here, doesn't go off, and then swing for 20. Which we push him to 4 damage. Discards a Gust here. I'm debating on what to pick up off the grade 2 of the Ride line, which he does use here. Grabs the Tempest. Pitches a Tempest for the top 3. Again, he shows me 3 triggers. He's very annoyed at the fact that he got 3 triggers once again. So he just swings for 23 with the boost. Gets Persona Ride, gets a Schnitzel. Goes into Tempest here. Gets a grade 2, so he's able to tuck back my Meteor Dragon. And then he swings for 18 with a drive check. Debating on how I want to guard here. I believe I over-triggered a pass him. Yeah, I guard for a 30. The reason I guarded early was because I knew I didn't need much damage on my to achieve my next turn. So we pitched the spear here because we can get it off of the grade 1 that we do currently have on board. go ahead and call out our moon here, get our counter charge, retire the grade 1 here to equip the spear and draw a card. Calling out Blue Dragon here. Getting out another Trick Moon. And we call out another one of the grade 1. We do Soul Blast 2 here to give our Vanguard the crit. I'm not sure if that was the right play. Maybe, possibly, we could have held it. But we do swing for 48 with a crit here, which he does perfect guard. He was asking for the number of the lines. I was telling him this is 38, that's 20. So he pitches the front. We get nothing on our drive check, unfortunately. We swing for 20 here. He decides to take it, and then we swing for 38, which he perfect guards. He Persona rides here. I guess that's his draw for turn and then draw Persona ride. Pitches here. Thinking about what to grab since he actually has options. Grabs a Cadbray here. Looks at top 3 again. Decides to grab the booster here instead of the Decisive Axe Dragon. Which, to be honest, maybe Decisive Axe Dragon could have been potentially game here, but I guess he did want to use the Schneisel here for the deck thin. So I'm guessing he probably just preferred the deck thin here. Adds it to hand. Swings for 23. He doesn't have access to a Sequana here. Our hand isn't looking that sexy, so we do no guard this. Gets a heal trigger. Heals off a Tempest. And gets a Maple. And we do get a defensive OT here and give 100 Moon to our Vanguard. He's debating on whether or not he wants to Will+Dress. He ultimately does decide to Will+Dress here. And he gets a grade 0, so he does put the what's it called? The Trick Moon on the bottom of our deck. Swing out our rear guard here, we take it. Swings at our other rear guard, we take it, and he passes turn. Stand and draw. Top deck Persona ride here. Looking over our options here. I was trying to see how I clear, because there's a way for me to clear his board here. So I call the Meteor Dragon, because I believe I have access to 2 Meteor Dragons. I call a Meteor Dragon over the Moon, because I didn't have another Moon in the drop zone, and then I equipped, I Soul Charge, I call out the Moon here, I Counter Charge, and then I Soul Blast 2 to get rid of the front row, and then I call out my second Meteor Dragon here to get rid of the back row, if I'm not mistaken. Yeah, I call out a second Meteor Dragon here. So that's a cool little plays you could do with the tech card Meteor Dragon, folks. Probably not the best card you can play in BAVSARGRA, but like I said, this was like a little bit of a cope list. I just wanted to see what I could do with the deck, you know, in this current format. Call out the booster here just to have the boost, because we are trying to go for game here. Again, our hand really isn't that sexy. We're at 2 cards in hand. He's debating how he wants to guard here. I believe he does use the over trigger here to guard. And I was telling him I was 58. So I was telling him right now that's 1 to pass. And I was telling him that's 2 to pass. So because he has both heals in hand. He has the crit heal in hand. So he does do it for no pass here. So that's like 83, I believe, to like 58. So that was no pass here. So first check is a front trigger. And then the second check is a perfect guard here. So that's just going to help us survive the next turn, even though we are at 2 damage. He was asking for numbers here. His first column is 18, 28, 48. And then the other column was 53. Gets a trigger, and then we swing for 53 here. 23, no, that's 33, 48, 58. Just calls out his hand here. Calls out the Gust, interestingly enough. I think he was just hoping to top deck into another Revolt form, and that's why he chose to call the Gust here. We do decide to no guard, and he gets crit, and he gets, unfortunately not a Revolt form. We get double defensive trigger. So he attacks our rear guard here, but we do decide to guard it because we wanted to keep our offensive pressure. Swings at the rear guard again, and we guard it. We really don't have much to do here, so we do decide to swing. I swing with the weaker column first because I know he has to take 1 damage. And that's the end of our game, you know. Once again, you know, OTs are busted. You guys know how I feel about OTs. I actually did talk about this in my giveaway results video slash discussion topic for this Sunday. It's going to be coming out later tonight. Unfortunately, you know, because of my internet problems that I've been having this whole day today, it isn't coming out when I wanted it to come out, which is usually like way earlier in the day. But I did discuss like possibly like Bushiroad creating a secondary format from standard to whereas like it'd be marketed as a more competitive format to whereas you don't play the overtrigger, because I don't see them banning the overtrigger, in all honesty. Like, they know they're not like, I don't think Bushiroad is stupid. They know exactly what they did, and they know it is a mistake, but they refuse to correct it because of the potential repercussions it could cause. Like, they could lose favor once again with like a lot of shops in Japan, and Japan is their main market. You know, of course, like Bushiroad is worldwide, but Japan is their main bread and butter, and they don't want to screw over their. They basically don't want to screw over their stores once again. But anyways, guys, don't forget to like, comment, subscribe. Tell me what you thought about the match down below. And once again, we are selling the playmats. It's in the description down below, everything you need to know on how to purchase one. And later, guys.